Welcome to a deadline stream for Gameweek 31, and can't lie, I've been tinkering with this team so much, and there's a lot of changes from the best wildcard team video that I did make, and it doesn't mean to say that one thing is right and one thing is wrong. Some people could say that maybe that one is a bit too template, and I can completely understand that, but you also don't want to sacrifice certain players just because they're in a lot of teams. You also have to factor in that a lot of people don't have the wild card, so they're not going to be able to get some of these players in. And I know the first thing that probably stands out is the captaincy. It's right on Sterling. I know that sounds woke, and I haven't had him all season. So for me to get him in now just seems a bit weird, but there's a few reasons why I do have him in, and I'll be discussing that shortly. He is a huge differential, and if it pays off, then I'm going to be laughing about it. But otherwise, yeah, it might not be the best thing necessarily. I made another few changes here or there, but quite a lot of it is stable. As I said before, a lot of it was locked in, but there's a few variables, and I do have plans to get certain players in. So maybe the likes of Heung-min Son, who isn't on screen. Yeah, I'll be bringing them in shortly, so don't worry about that. But let me get through your questions and comments. Thank you everyone who is here. And Adi says, hey Dylan, Digne, Diaz, Rudy, Cody, Pereira, Cavani, Gundogan, start 4 and bench order. Jesus, I mean, I would start Gundogan just in case, but I'm not entirely sure if he will start. There's a big question mark about that, but I'd definitely start him. As for the rest of your team, let's see, who do Everton play? That's the one I don't know. Okay, Brighton. I'd still start Diaz, but I have a feeling he's going to be benched, and I know I have him here on my wildcard team. Rudiger, I'd definitely start, no-brainer, and I'd probably go with Cody, and I'd bench Pereira. Unless you're talking about the West Brom Pereira, in that case, maybe start him. But yeah, I'd say go with Gundogan, Diaz, Rudiger, and Cody, and you could, if not, maybe go for Digne or Pereira. Start 2 out of Wan-Bissaka, Cresswell, Bamford, and Rafinha. Have to start at least one defender. On Cresswell and Rafinha at the moment, yeah, to be honest, I might be tempted to say Wan-Bissaka because United have been keeping a lot of clean sheets in these kind of big games. But yeah, that is a tough one. And out of those two, Rafinha and Bamford, I think you make the right call. He's more of a differential, and I think he's more likely to get points because he also has those assists in him and the set pieces. So yeah, I agree with that. Thoughts on my team? Marcus says it again. Mendy, Azpilicueta, Diaz, Cresswell, Salah captain, Gundogan, Lingard, Rafinha, Son, Kane, Iheanacho, and your subs are Martinez, Bamford, Wan-Bissaka, Dallas. Yeah, I agree with the bench. I think that's completely fair. And yeah, I think your starting lineup is pretty good. Obviously, I would suspect maybe Diaz or Gundogan, at least one of them will be benched, but it is what it is, and it's been quite easy to predict Pep Roulette. Well, I say that, maybe let me rephrase that. It's been easier to predict Pep Roulette this season compared to years gone by, but now going into the business end of the season, I do think it's going to revert back to even the likes of DS being benched and stuff like that, so it's not going to be easy, but yeah, it looks like a good team. Ismail says Mendy, Azpilicueta, Phillips, Holding, Cody, Maddison, Salah, Jota, Neto, Lacazette, Kane, Forster, Iheanacho, Lingard, Cresswell. That looks pretty good. I'm not entirely sure about benching Lingard, to be honest. Obviously, you look at the players you have, fair enough, but I would still start Lingard over Holding, for example. I know Sheffield United are awful, but newsflash, so are Arsenal. So it's not exactly ideal, is it? Any changes in best 11? Yeah, it'd probably be that. Bringing in Lingard or Iheanacho, up to you. But I'd probably go for Lingard there. And we're live, says AJDC. Welcome there. 2 free transfers. What should I do? I'm not sure what your team is, Parish. So let me know what your team is, and I can maybe give you a better example of that. Hello, Dylan. What do you think about Lingard and Holding or Neto and Konsa? Double game week potentially in game week 35. Ooh, that is a tough one. I would still go with Lingard and Holding. I don't like Arsenal players, but I just think Lingard is a significantly better asset than Neto. However, you look at the fixtures on paper, at least until game week 34, 35, and Neto is the clear winner. But Lingard, even though Antonio missing out is going to be a big thing, I do think that he's worth keeping, and just going without him on a wildcard is very, very bold. But yeah, and as for Konsa and Liverpool and Aston Villa, I just don't trust them. They've got very tough fixtures coming up, including Liverpool. Yeah, I just don't feel Aston Villa assets right now. Struijk and Fofana or Sufa and Veltman. I am wildcarding this week. Already have Rudiger, Mendy, Holding, Trent. To be honest, I'd go for Sufal and Veltman. The problem with that is that in the short term, they're not great, but those players you have to cover, so for example, Rudiger, Holding and Trent, they should be doing very well over the next few. And then when Veltman has that very good fixture in 33, you can play him there. After that, I would sell him. I wouldn't have any Brighton asset beyond 33. And as for Sufal, yeah, I think he's looking very good. up until the business end of the season, game week 35 to 38. With Fofana, he's probably the best Leicester asset you can get right now from the defence. But really, in my opinion, the way I see it is it was Justin or nothing, and Justin is injured, obviously. So, yeah, I would kind of steer clear from Leicester assets until they start proving it. I want to see a bit more consistency from them in terms of the defence. They're always up there in terms of the best defences. They never keep the clean sheets, and that's what we need. Appleman says, is Diaz to Trent and Bruno to Jota to then do next week Alba to Salah? To be fair, all of the moves look good on paper, but Bruno to Jota, just getting rid of Bruno, especially when he has, I think Burnley and Leeds coming up, probably around when you're going to get him out. Not entirely sure about that. Welcome, Mosh. Thank you for asking. I'm pretty well, thank you. Where are you from? Will Salah be the template captain? Well, I am from the UK and Argentina, so yeah, hopefully that answers your question. And will Salah be the template captain? He'll probably be the most owned, not most owned captain, but he'll be the most captain in my opinion. Other than that, I still think a lot of people will have the captaincy on Bruno and Kane just because of what they can do in any given moment. So yeah, I'd say those are the top three. So going a bit different, it might be the week to do something like that, I think. Obviously, if you do back the assets enough, I see a lot of people showing love to Aubameyang, and to be honest, the way he's playing right now and the way Arsenal are, I couldn't bring myself to do it personally, but it could still work. Marco says, hey Dylan, on a wild card, obviously, which of Neto, Fofana and Veltman for 33 or Lingard, Dawson and Rudiger have Mendy? Neto, Fofana and Veltman. Oh, so it's a trio. I would probably still say Lingard, Dawson and Rudiger. I'm not entirely sure about Dawson. You could maybe go for Veltman instead if you're just looking at 33, and then after make the switch to a Soufal or a Dawson, but I prefer the second one. Just having Rudiger, that double up in Chelsea defence, I think you're good there, and Lingard, I think that's good. Welcome, Chris Alfamoso, thank you for joining in. Mickey Football says, how many changes did you make in your wildcard and what's your bench looking like? Okay, let's go to it. Thank you for the question, Mickey. So, in terms of changes that I have made, I've kept Mendy, I've kept Rudiger, and I've kept Diaz, but I'll be honest, I've been playing around with maybe Laporte. And I know it sounds very weird, but I backed Laporte to start the next 2 or 3 Premier League games. And Diaz, yeah, he's played 90 minutes pretty much every single match in the Premier League, but maybe he is due a rest. They've got Dortmund coming up, they've got the FA Cup semi-final, they've got the Carabao Cup final, all within the, next 2 weeks or so. It just makes it very difficult to kind of anticipate Diaz starting every single Premier League game. So what I do expect is he'll be benched against Leeds, but he'll be back for Villa. Having said that, that might be enough for some people to look at it and say, okay, you know what, what's the point? He's blanking in 33, so just get rid of him or just don't bring him in. And I completely get that. But going beyond Game Week 33, I do suspect Diaz will start most of the games. And even today, to be honest, or should I say this weekend, it could be a partnership of Laporte and Diaz, just like it was against Leicester. City still need to take Leeds seriously because they can cause them damage if they play the likes of Ake, who I don't think is fully fit yet, or at least he needs to get that match fitness up. Maybe it's a good opportunity to do that. But yeah, I've kept Diaz at the moment, although I'll be honest, I've been toying with that idea a lot. I've gotten rid of Trent. And to be honest, yeah, I do think he's one of the best options you can get on a wild card for the attacking potential, and I do think Liverpool have some clean sheets in them. But I just look at it and think, for 7.3 million, I want consistent returns. So if it was like, for example, a Cancelo in a City defence playing every single week, then yeah, I'd be willing to spend 7 million or whatever, even a Stones or a Diaz. But with Trent and Liverpool, it's still a bit of a question mark there. And their defence is still suspect, in my opinion. So I think Phillips at 4 million, great option, should be nailed. And I think he's also an enabler. It allows me to get Salah back in. And yeah, Salah hasn't been very good. He's got 1 goal in his last 5 Premier League games, but a bit of form in the Champions League too. And also in the international. So I do want Salah for the fixtures as well, chasing the Golden Boot. And to be honest, he could win it yet again. It's between him and Kane, in my opinion. So that's why I've got Salah in. Bruno Fernandes, kept him. Sterling is the difference. I've brought in Sterling for Son, but this is a 1-week punt, just to make it completely clear. A 1-week punt because Sterling hasn't started in God knows how long in the Premier League. I do suspect he'll start against Leeds, and I think it's worth the captaincy. He got a goal last time out against the same opposition. And I just think there's just something about it that screams points to me. It might not happen, and if it doesn't, fair enough. But it's a good week to be different. You have Manchester United facing Spurs, so a lot of people with Kane, Son and Bruno. Ideally, at least on paper, you wouldn't expect too many points from them, although you never know. So that's why I've got Sterling in at the moment as captain, but in 32, he will become Son. and targeting that double game week for Spurs. So that's pretty much some of the changes I've made. Jota's still there, Lingard's still there, Iheanacho and Kane. And Cody, he's also someone new. And Forster. So Forster came in for Martinez. The plan originally was to play Martinez in game week 33, then moving on to Ederson in around game week 35. But you know what? I could just cover that with Forster, who could have a double game week in 35. And I think Crystal Palace could be relocated to that game week. And Southampton would also face Liverpool. And yeah, Forster could cover that pretty well. And he'd be my second keeper. Very cheap. Can't go too wrong there. Cody's in. So yeah, Vidra also. Okay, let me just address the elephant in the room. Vidra, I don't back him to do that well. I just think he's a decent budget bench striker. And the plan after getting Son in for Raheem Sterling is to get Bamford back in for Vidra, especially targeting game week 34 to 38 for Leeds United. So Vidra is literally just an enabler, and he'll become Bamford very shortly. And Luke Shaw, he does have a knock. I think he got it in the Europa League game yesterday, but he should be fine. And even if he misses out the Tottenham game, I'm not too fussed because I'm not going to be playing him regardless. He'll be starting to play in my team in the coming weeks, so that's not really too much of an issue. But yeah, Vidra is going to become Bamford, Sterling's going to become Son, and then maybe if I really am impressed with Trent, I can mess things around with 2 transfers, although it probably means I need to get rid of Phillips, and I'll have to make money elsewhere. And also, I've got my eye on Rafinha still. I think he's someone worth looking at. Pedro Neto, I want to see consistency from Wolves and from Pedro Neto himself. But the rest is pretty locked in, and maybe I'll make a goalkeeper transfer in the coming weeks. But yeah, those are all my wildcard moves and my plans. That's how my bench is looking at the moment. It's looking pretty good. I could arguably play Cody instead of Iheanacho or even Phillips. But right now, I'm sticking with this. And to be honest, if my suspicion is correct, Diaz would be benched, doesn't come on, Cody will then play for me, so it's not too big of a deal. So that's how my team is looking, and I know there's some very weird picks in there on paper, but you know what, I think it's quite a good time to be different and to kind of attack this game week and the ones to come. I won't trust Sterling, don't be sure City will smash Leeds. I'll be honest, I don't think City will smash them, but I think they'll score 2 or 3. Leeds are better at home defensively. Away from home, they're better offensively, but that also leads to them leaking more goals. But yeah, I think it'll be like a 2-3-1 or 0 City. But yeah, fair enough, I get that. Neto or Lingard for Odegaard, says Lewis. I still prefer Lingard, I'll be honest. But for this game week specifically, I do prefer Pedro Neto. I believe he scored in the reverse fixture. But yeah, Lingard as the overall asset I think is far better. Chris El Famoso says, brought in Iheanacho and Trent in for Antonio and Dallas this week, -4. Really tempted to do Rafinha to Neto, or is that a huge minus? You know what, to be honest, a -8 then. For Rafinha to Neto, I don't think that's worth it. And Rafinha could still maybe nick an assist or a goal in this fixture, but I completely understand that ideally you'd want to have Neto. And that's why people with the wild card have a bit of an advantage this week. But yeah, I completely agree with that. And you just mentioned the guy, Antonio. He was someone I wanted to keep on my wild card, even if it meant having double West Ham attack. But unfortunately he isn't. That's why I brought in Vidra for now to facilitate other moves like Sterling and Salah for this week. And then going forward, he'll become Bamford. But yeah, Antonio's a big shame. I think he could have been a great option. He could still be back maybe for game week 32, 33, 34. But we just don't know yet. And it looks like he's going to miss this Leicester game. Hey Dylan, how's it going? Pretty well, thank you, Anab. And hopefully you are well too. Paresh says Martinez, Pickford, Lowton, Cancelo, Vestergaard, Diaz, Phillips, KDB, Bruno, Son, Jota, Rafinha, DCL, Bamford, Antonio, 2 free transfers. What changes should I make? I think what stands out there is your goalkeeper and Vestergaard. The rest looks pretty good, but yeah, I just don't trust Southampton defensively. You could just have, I'm not sure if you're on a wildcard, Paresh, but you could have Forster in there as your second keeper. And as for Martinez and Pickford, yeah, obviously I'd start Pickford this week, but going forward, I'm not sure about it. And I think he's still injured, So yeah, I'd address the goalkeeping situation and Vestergaard. Alba for KDB, asks Rahik. Maybe for a 1 week punt, but beyond that, I just don't trust Aubameyang or Arsenal. Play Watkins or Phillips. I would play Phillips at the start. Do you reckon Rudiger will start? He was benched last week and he's just played Champions League and maybe playing on Tuesday again. So annoying, asked Mickey. Fair enough, he could, but the way I see it, Thiago Silva suspended. And I think Chelsea's best defence right now involves Christensen and Rudiger and Azpilicueta as the back three. So I think he should start. But if not, yeah, he'll be benched in maybe one or two of the remaining games for the season. But it ultimately depends on what happens in the FA Cup and also in the Champions League. Feels like everyone's going Mendy. I'm the only one going for Leno. I'll be honest, with Arsenal, they just don't keep clean sheets. It's been, 13 games in all competitions. That's why I haven't considered Leno at all. The fixtures are much better than Mendy's, but Chelsea have a far better defence. That's why I'm going for Mendy myself. What do you expect the City backline to be like this week? Great question, Aranya. Thank you for that. I would say probably Benjamin Mendy as the left back, and I'd say Cancelo right back. And I'd say, Laporte is definitely starting, and it's between Ake, Stones, or Diaz for the second centre-back slot, and I'm not entirely sure about that. And obviously Edison in goal. So that is my prediction. Let's see how bad that was. Hey again, Dylan. No Arnold, thoughts? Well, I did have him, William, in my best wildcard team, in my actual team, in my team selection video. But what I also did, and this is what I did a lot, which is what I led to this team that we have on screen. I also had plans going into Game Week 32, 33 and beyond. And I just liked what I had going with this team. And I liked having Sterling attacking this game week for that 1 week punt. That's why I don't have Trent, and also just 7.3 million for a team that there's still a lot of question marks surrounding their defence. So yeah, I know Arnold is one of the most popular picks on a wild card, and with good reason. I think he's going to do very well, but you can't have everyone. Obviously, ideally I'd have him, but I also don't want to lose a City defender despite the rotation that's going to happen there. I want to have Salah, I want to have Sterling, and then move on to Son. I want to have Jota and Fernandes and Lingard and Kane. So yeah, that's why I ended up with this. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, great option, and if you have him and you can afford all of the other options you want, then I think he's worth it. Vardy or Iheanacho? I would go for Iheanacho right now. But yeah, I think people are overlooking Vardy, including myself. And I did have a draft where he was in it, but in the end I didn't stick with it, obviously. Ben, the bench is here. Cody, Vidra and Shaw. But Vidra's not going to be there for very long, and Forster is the goalkeeper. Hey Dylan, can't decide between Leno or Mendy. What's your pick? Mendy by far, there's no doubt about it. Just a far better defence, and I just see way more clean sheets for Chelsea. Also, how likely do you think Phillips starts every game? I think it's very likely, because the only other player that could play at centre-back, other than Fabinho when Henderson returns, is Ben Davies. But he just hasn't even been in the squad, so I do think Phillips is very nailed. It will be him and Kabak most of the games. I'd be very surprised if he is dropped, but then again, it will probably be because of Henderson returning. Tempted to get the rat Jota and decided to get Mo. Leicester are dry, so no Vardy or Nigerian Drogba. Yeah, Nigerian Drogba, that's a new one. What should I do? Castagna and Rudiger, or Fofana and Azpilicueta? That's a tough one. I'd probably still go with Castagna and Rudiger. I think that Rudiger offers very good value. But yeah, with Azpilicueta, what you're getting is someone who's completely nailed. Hey Dylan, I'm guessing you'll be getting a ton of questions for you this stream, and I'll probably have a couple. Yeah, fair enough, Maelstrom. Should I start Shaw or holding? This is what Blues FPL asks. I would start holding, but going forward, Luke Shaw's the far better asset. Yeah, that's what I would go with. Maelstrom says, currently thinking about going Rudiger plus Alonso next 2 weeks, then swap Alonso to Trent after Leeds. Yeah, think I'll miss out on a lot from Trent next couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, because it's Aston Villa and Leeds we're talking about. But then again, will Grealish even feature? That's a big thing, a big factor regarding Aston Villa and whether they'll cause any trouble for Liverpool. But yeah, I don't think you're going to miss out on too much. I think the main thing that could happen is maybe one clean sheet and an attack and return, and maybe a double-digit haul in one of those two games. But I'd be very surprised if Liverpool keep 2 clean sheets across both games. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. That plan you have is very safe. And you would suspect Alonso to start in at least one of the next 2. Obviously, there is this thing about Chilwell starting in the Champions League and Alonso now starting in the Premier League. But if I'm completely honest, I don't know, maybe Chilwell is now first choice. And I do think that Chelsea are better defensively with him rather than Alonso. And that was proven. Obviously, the red card didn't help with Thiago Silva. But yeah, it's just Alonso is a liability defensively. Is Kane plus Son essential for Game Week 32? I would say Kane is. I'm not so sure about Son, to be honest, William. He's got 1 goal in his last 13 games. He's got 3 assists. And then you look at the underlying stats as well, and his expected goals, his expected assists, the shots in the box, all of these sorts of important stats, they're just not quite there. But in Game Week 32, I would still recommend having both of them, but triple Spurs or something like that, not for me. feel like there is a very template wildcard and I'm looking for differentials for the sake of it, but I kind of want to seem different and upside chasing moves. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about feeling too template because a lot of people won't have the combination of players you have. So, for example, a lot of people are going to be wildcarding Salah and Jota in, but people who don't have the wild card won't be able to have that luxury. They might have to take a hit or make several transfers or wait an extra week or whatever to bring in Salah or maybe even to bring in Jota. But yeah, fair enough. I mean, I looked at my team now. I've actually now got a lot of differentials. I think Mendy's under 10% ownership, Rudiger's around 7%, Phillips 2%. If I did get Laporte, he was 2%. Sterling is around 6% ownership. So I do like what I have right now. Iheanacho's another one. But yeah, fair enough. If you feel like your team maybe is too template, maybe go for one or two extra punts, maybe a Sterling. If you're feeling it, I'm feeling it. That's why I'm going for it. It might not work, but sometimes you've got to take these risks. I mean, it's a week where a lot of great captaincy choices normally have a very tough game, so fair enough. Arteta out, says Anteater. Well, I mean, I don't want him to be sacked, but the way it's going, it's just not looking very good. If he doesn't win Europa League and he finishes 10th, I mean, what kind of arguments can you say, apart from winning an FA Cup last year, to kind of back him? But to be honest, if I could, I would rather get rid of the players first than him. But yeah, I mean, the substitutions yesterday were made far too late. The chances missed by Saka, Lacazette and Aubameyang were just unforgivable, especially Lacazette. Arnab says, hey Dylan, thoughts or any major mistakes? Mendy, Shaw, Stones, Phillips, Salah, Jota, Bruno, Son, Lingard, Kane, Watkins, bench, Bamford, White, Dallas. Any changes you think I should make? I think in terms of how your team is structured, that's fine. I think, yeah, you got your bench right. Best captaincy options for my team and vice captain, I'd probably say, yeah, it's between Salah and Jota for the captaincy, in my opinion. But I still think Bruno and Kane are good options, but I'm not going to go there myself. And to be honest, Lingard, he's also a good captaincy option, but I am a bit put off with the absence of Antonio. Thank you, Vasi Nation. Appreciate it. City Extra, a reliable Twitter account, predicts this City lineup against Leeds. Ederson, Walker, Diaz, Laporte, Zinchenko, Fernandinho, Rodri, Gundogan, Sterling, Torres, Jesus. To be honest, that looks very similar to what I've predicted. Yeah, I mean, Zinchenko's the other one. I forgot about him. It could actually be him instead of Mendy. That's a good point. And Diaz, Laporte, when you put it that way, I probably think that's what he's going to go with. I think it's Diaz or Stones, actually. I don't think Ake will play with Laporte. I think they're both left-footed. I mean, that's not a big deal, but Pep likes to have a left-footed centre-back and a right-footed centre-back. So yeah, I think that looks pretty solid. Most of it is what I would probably say. Maybe I'd say Cancelo over Walker, but then again, they have Dortmund coming in a few days' time, and yeah, I think Cancelo's more important than Walker right now. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Fernandinho's another shout. I think he could start. So yeah, hopefully Diaz does start. I think they could get the clean sheet there. Gundogan captain and Jota vice captain. Your thoughts? I'm not entirely sure about Gundogan, I'll be honest, but if he does start, then yeah, he could definitely be in for the points. And probably with the players you have available, I'm guessing you have Bruno, Son and Kane. Yeah, I think Gundogan and Jota are better captaincy options. Thoughts on my final team? Mendy, Forster, Trent, Cody, Rudiger, Holding, Amati, Salah, Son, Bruno, Lingard, Jota, Iheanacho, Kane, Vidra. That looks good. The one thing I would say is that I know Amati and Holding are budget options and you can't really go too wrong. But one kind of potential problem you have is if Rudiger misses out, he's being rested for the Champions League or whatever, you have to rely on Holding or Amati, and they might not even be that nailed themselves, especially when certain players come back. I think Soyuncu comes back soon for Leicester, and yeah, I think David Luiz could be back in a few weeks' time, and to be honest, Holding has been very, very poor since returning to the side, but it's a good squad overall. Your midfield and attack, I like it. It's very similar to mine. I think it's identical, if anything, but yeah, I like that team. Captain Aguero, I mean, to be honest, as a 1 week punt, why not? I think he will start, but who's to say what Pep is thinking right now? But it could be Aguero and Jesus playing as a left winger, and Sterling is playing. I mean, hopefully they all start, but let's see. Captain Vardy or Jota? Currently got it on Vardy, but I don't own Salah, so I could try and cover his points with a Jota captaincy, asks Lewis. To be honest, I'd go for Jota anyway, not even just for covering Salah. I prefer Jota, I prefer the fixture, but yeah, I think Vardy's still a good option. He is being overlooked, but the fact that it is West Ham, I know they don't have Rice, I know they have injuries, but I'd still go for Jota. Is Fofana a player to trust or Cody? I'll be honest, I don't trust either of them that much. That's why Cody is mainly going to be a bench player for me. But I would rather have Cody. He's a bit cheaper. Leicester, the fixtures are pretty good, but I'm not entirely sure about Fofana. I do think Cody has a bit more upside to him in terms of bonus points and stuff like that. But he is still an option, Fofana. Hey Dylan, I did a -8, brought in Salah, Iheanacho and Jota and Trent. Thoughts please? Well, they're all like players that everyone's going to be getting in on a wild card. And yeah, I think they're all good options, even going forward. But yeah, I think maybe triple Liverpool in terms of a -8. Maybe that is going a bit too far. But then again, the fixtures are there. Liverpool have the quality. If they start to unleash it, then should be good moves. Bench 1 of Jota, Lingard, Cody, Gundogan. I'd probably bench Cody in that case. And if Gundogan doesn't play, for example, Cody comes in. Marco says Rudiger, Dawson, Bruno and Davis or Neto, Vidra, Aspi and Fofana. With money in the bank to do Son to Bruno in 33. Yeah, I think Son to Bruno in 33 looks very good. And yeah, Rudiger, Dawson, Bruno and Davis. I'd prefer, the first set of players you said. A midfielder below 7.4 million except Rafinha, Lookman, Lingard, Neto or Mount. Who do you reckon? Which do you think will be the best option? The one that stands out for me is Maddison. For me, yeah, definitely Maddison. The problem with him and why I got rid of him, he's another player I got rid of from my wildcard draft. I'm not entirely sure he plays the full 90 against West Ham. And even then, I'm not entirely sure if he'll get points. But going forward, I think Maddison can do very well. And he's a great differential. Hello Dylan, Salah or Azpilicueta as captain? Definitely Salah for me. He scored 2 goals against Villa last time out. And the problem with Liverpool and Salah, they just haven't really been at it, especially at home. 1 goal in the last 6 games, I believe. Obviously, the kind of form is starting to creep back in, but you need to see more at Anfield. But yeah, I'd still go for Salah over Azpilicueta. Grealish confirmed out, I think. Can't trust the Croach much, though. Yeah, I mean, Dean Smith is being a nightmare, isn't he? And yeah, I think there is a rumour that Grealish could be out for quite a few more weeks, and I'm not even surprised. He suffered another setback in training ahead of the Fulham game in Gameweek 30. So yeah, I'm not entirely surprised by that. And if he is out, I think Liverpool assets look even better. Why are people wildcarding this week? Asked Anteater. Well, there's a lot of fixture swings, and people who prepared very well for Gameweek 29, although they may have had a very good team in Gameweek 30, they experienced big swings in 31. And for example, they'd have triple leads against City. They'd have maybe triple Spurs or triple United, and they face each other. And that's not exactly ideal. And you could also be ahead of the curve. You can get the likes of Jota in. You can take 1 week punts like Sterling. You can maybe go for an Iheanacho, stuff like that. Be a bit different. Some people didn't have Lingard. They can bring him in. And maybe if they got rid of Salah and they want him back in for that golden boot run potentially, you can do all these sorts of things and also target other defences or players like Neto and Wolves. So that's why. Bamford and Bale to Iheanacho and Jota, good moves? I think so. And you can always bring Bamford back in Gameweek 34. I like that, Ali. Fernandes or KDB? For this game week, if I backed KDB to start, it's definitely him. But I'm not entirely sure. So to be honest, it's Bruno for me. Hi Dylan, Sterling in for a -8 for Gundogan? Not for me. Just a fan. I wouldn't do that. Because Gundogan could start and he could even match or better Sterling. So yeah, I wouldn't do that in my opinion. If you had a wild card, then yeah, I would look to do that. Or if it was a free transfer. But for a -4, not exactly sure. Is it too risky to get rid of KDB this game week? It is risky. But then again, it is risky to bring him in or to keep him. There's always a risk involved. But to be honest, if I had him and I didn't have a wild card, I'd just keep him. But if you're on a wild card, I'd probably look elsewhere. Luke Shaw, injury news. Asked Genius Gamer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he took him off as a precaution to just protect him, really. And we'll wait and see what happens at the weekend to see if he can play. That's what he said. So, to be honest, if you have him or you're looking to bring him in, I'd still get him in. But yeah, it's mainly for future game weeks, not Game Week 31. When Lacazette was through on goal, it was like he was running through sand. Did you not expect him to miss it? To be honest, I actually got a message. I was watching it for a stream and someone said, Lacazette, oh no. And I actually thought, wait, did he score? But this guy didn't want him to score, so he said, oh no. And I looked at it and I just thought, oh, he's missing it, isn't he? Just the way he was running, the way he was moving, and yeah, it was a poor finish. Would you recommend Iheanacho over Vardy? I would, probably, yeah. The reason why I say that is because having Vardy will make it more difficult for you to bring in the likes of Son and Kane and Bruno Fernandes and maybe Salah, who you probably want to have, and maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I think Iheanacho offers much better value right now. And since he's been in the team, he's got better stats in every single department than Jamie Vardy. KDB and Watkins out for Salah and Iheanacho, or Jota and Vardy? I would say Salah and Iheanacho. What about Diaz to Luca Digne? I wouldn't bring in Luca Digne in my opinion. Yeah, he might have Brighton, he might have one or two good fixtures here or there, but Everton are just poor. The way they capitulate at the end against Palace. Digne, he could have on another day gotten a lot of points if he kept that clean sheet, if Richarlison tucks away the chance created by Digne. But no, not for me. I wouldn't go for Digne right now. If you had him, I'd probably hold him, but I wouldn't bring him in. Definitely not. Mount or Lingard on a wild card? I still prefer Lingard. Yeah, the fixtures are there for Chelsea maybe, at least in the short term, but longer term Lingard I think is a better pick. Lipok says, how do I get rid of Rice and Bale to Son? Martinez, Johnston, Rudiger, Phillips, Shaw, Stones, Dallas, Salah, Jota, Bale, Rice, Bruno, Kane, Bamford, Watkins. Yeah, I'd do Bale to Son ahead of Game Week 32 anyway. I think Bale is pretty much done. He had a few weeks of glory. And as for Declan Rice, yeah, I'd definitely get rid of him. Maybe for Pedro Neto if you can afford him. Yeah, because based on your budget, I wouldn't get Rafinha in just yet. I would look to bring him in Game Week 34. Partha says, Mendy, Holding, Diaz, Dawson, Trent, Bruno, Salah, Jota, Sterling, Captain, Kane, Iheanacho, Wildcard active. Any recommendations? I'm not sure. Wait, so do you have your Holding, Diaz, Dawson, Trent? Yeah, I'm not sure who your other defender is because you listed 4 there. But yeah, as I keep on saying, I'm not entirely sure about Holding. In terms of this game week, I'm not sure about Dawson. I do think Leicester will score, but the rest of it looks very good. I would rather have Holding over Cody as a budget player. Fixtures look very good away and we can keep 1 or 2 clean sheets. Fair enough, I get your point. But I also look at Game Week 33, which is where Arsenal play Everton. And I do believe Wolves have Burnley. And that's a week where a lot of people are going to struggle to get 11 players out. I prefer Cody for that. And to be honest, I have more faith in Cody getting points and outscoring Holding. And Cody's just nailed. With Holding, he isn't. Especially with the way he's playing right now. But I get your point. Martinez, Arnold, Holding, Rudiger, Shaw, Diaz, Lingard, Jota, Salah, Bruno, Son, Iheanacho, Kane, Adams. Your comments on the squad and the 3 players to bench this week. Well, I'm not sure about your keepers, but I'm guessing Martinez is your main one. I would look to get rid of him if you can at some point. In terms of benching, I would probably bench... Che Adams, he has a very good fixture, doesn't he? Yeah, yeah. You probably wouldn't want to bench him for that, but will he even start? Not entirely sure. That looks tough. I would bench Shaw. Yeah, I'd start all the other defenders. I would potentially maybe bench one of the Spurs attackers, probably Son. I wouldn't bench Kane, but then again, that could be very risky. Yeah, and maybe Iheanacho. I don't know. It's very tough, but to be honest, yeah, you know what? It should be Shaw, Adams on your bench, and yeah, whichever of the others that I just mentioned. Will Aubameyang play? -4 to get him in captain. I'll be honest. Even for a free transfer, I would really, really just have second thoughts about that. And for a -4 and captaining him, not for me. I wouldn't do it, but if you have a gut feeling about it, go for it. What I think could happen is that Lacazette now plays against Sheffield United, and then Aubameyang plays and starts the second leg against Slavia Prague. And to be honest, his record up front this season is decent. I think he's got 7 goals in 8 games or something like that, although 3 came in 1 game against Leeds. But yeah, with Aubameyang, if he does start that game, he could be worth it, but I'm not sure about it. Andy says, why are you keeping Bruno? When will you captain him until the end of the season? That attack is so weak. Well, thank you, Andy. In terms of Bruno, well, I think there is chances to captain him. For example, Game Week 33 with Leeds United. And I think there's 1 or 2 others, even Burnley for 32. But then again, that is going to be the double game week for Spurs, so I'm not going to go there. But even then, I think Bruno Fernandes is just going to tick along. He's the most consistent FPL player. So going without him, I just don't really see the logic there. To be honest, I actually have more doubts about having the likes of Salah than Bruno Fernandes because Salah's just not been on it. Liverpool are very hit and miss. United and Bruno offer far more consistency. As for the attack, fair enough, it is very bad on paper right now, but the plan, as I keep on saying, is to get Son in for Sterling and then Vidra becomes Bamford again and all of a sudden the attack looks much better again. It's just for a 1 week punt to captain Sterling and that's just the way I'm playing it. I don't really just want to keep things the same. With Antonio being injured, I just don't see too many options up front. I don't trust Lacazette and all the other strikers that are on offer. Davis injured, fair enough, Clem Hardy. Yeah, that would explain it. I mean, would he even start? Maybe he would, but I'm not exactly sure when he's going to come back. Tommaso says, hey Dylan, last minute wildcard decisions. 1 week punt on Gundogan before switching to Son, Diaz to Reguilon. Yeah, I mean, as a 1 week punt, I think Gundogan is worth it, and if not, he can just be benched. Diaz to Reguilon, not for me. Obviously, in that best wildcard team video I had, for those of you who wanted to really attack that double game week 32 for Spurs, I completely get that, but I just prefer Diaz. Opinions on Lacazette? Just, he is a good option, or he's potentially a good option, and this is what I said in my best wildcard team video. The problem with him is too much rotation. Arsenal are very inconsistent. Lacazette isn't a clinical striker. He's very hit and miss. He could maybe come off from the bench, which limits his points potential. So the way I see it, when Antonio returns from injury, he's a better option. Iheanacho right now, better option. Kane, Jamie Vardy if you have enough money, and Bamford in Game Week 34. So yeah, with Lacazette and Arsenal players, as you can tell right now, I'm just not sold on them. Holding for 4.2 million, I can understand. Lacazette is still good, but I just maybe think there are better options elsewhere. I'm actually thinking about bringing in Aubameyang. Lacazette has been so bad that Alba surely must play again. Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, if Aubameyang is now once again the first choice striker, I mean, surely wouldn't that mean Lacazette plays against Sheffield United and then Aubameyang plays against Slavia Prague? I'm not exactly sure about that. Captain Gundogan or Jota? I prefer Jota, just because I'm a bit more convinced that he will start. But they're both good options, Eddie. Is 3.3 million really worth the assists of Trent when you can go Phillips? Very good question. I mean, that's pretty much the conundrum I had. With 3.3 million, that enabled me to get Salah in, to also take the 1 week punt on Sterling. That's why I prefer Phillips personally. But if you can afford it and you're happy with the rest of your team, then Trent is worth that upgrade. He'll get bonus points. He'll get maybe the odd assist here or there. But he's not really getting the numbers that he was last season or the season before that. Same with Robertson. So I completely understand your doubts about it. And personally, I'm not really feeling it. Just think that Lingard won't do well without Antonio, and with the tough fixtures, Newcastle, the only good one, could bring him in 34 and could go Neto for now and make little upgrades to the defence. Fair enough, but I still think that Lingard's worth it. You could maybe go a few weeks without him with Neto or something like that, or Maddison. And I get your concerns completely. When Antonio came off, West Ham looked much, much worse. But yeah, I still think Lingard has points in him. Dallas to Phillips, will he play? Phillips should play, yeah. So long as Ben Davis is still injured, Joe Gomez and Van Dijk, Phillips will continue to start. The only problem I could see in the future is if Henderson comes back pretty quickly and Fabinho moves back to centre-back, or Henderson does. But I just don't think the balance is there when one of them moves in defence. So I think Phillips should continue to play for now. What about Aguero in for Antonio? Thank you for your tips. No problem, just a fan. I think for a 1 week punt it's worth it, and if anything, from the attackers, maybe Aguero is going to start the most from City attackers, because he's obviously finalising his career at Manchester City, and I don't think he's going to play in the Champions League. They're going to continue playing De Bruyne as the false nine and have other options there. But yeah, I think Aguero is a good option. Going forward though, I don't know, just on the eye test, looking at how he's playing, he doesn't look the same. He doesn't seem as sharp, but maybe he can gain a bit more as the games go by. But yeah, for this game week against Leeds, very good option. Beyond that, I would look elsewhere. Lingard in for Gundogan, and who to get in for Antonio? For Antonio, I'd get in Iheanacho. Yeah, right now just Iheanacho, and then going forward Bamford. And that's assuming you have Kane already, of course. Maybe Vardy as well, if you have enough money, but you probably don't. And as for Lingard in for Gundogan, I'd say yes, but maybe not this week. I'd keep Gundogan, and if you have a good bench option, they can come on just in case. But going forward, I do prefer Lingard. De Bruyne playing this game week, asked Genius Gamer. I'll be honest, I'm not completely sure about it. Maybe he won't. That's the problem. Good defender for 5.3 million or under, asked Af1. I would say Connor Cody. I think Rudiger's the standout, by the way. Rudiger's by far the standout. Phillips is another one. Cody, Soufal, Holding. These are kind of the best and most popular options on a wild card. So yeah, I'd go for some of those. I've got Neves and Neto in my team. Should I captain one of them? Not for me. Maybe Neto, but I definitely wouldn't captain Neves. He's very hit and miss. He could maybe get a double-digit return, and if you feel it, then why not? But I don't know, just too inconsistent for me from an FPL perspective. But Neto looks like a good option, Matthew. Thoughts on Reguilon versus Shaw? Also, best 4 million and under defender apart from Phillips. I mean, 4 million or under, there really isn't anyone, at least someone who's starting. There is Holding, that's as close as I can get with 4.2, but 4 million and under is Phillips or nothing for me. And as for Reguilon versus Shaw, I prefer Shaw. Better defence and more attacking potential. I don't think Reguilon has really hit the heights that he did with Sevilla last season. So yeah, I prefer Shaw. I know Reguilon has the double game week, in 32, but I'm just not feeling with him. Watkins to Iheanacho for a -8. Nah, not for me. Already got in Salah for Bale and Cody for Dunk. I have Bamford on the bench. Yeah, I wouldn't take a -8 for that. Should I go with Cedric instead of Holding? Asked Bakul. He should start most of the games, if not all. But I just don't like Cedric at left back, and he's not really going to get you too many assists. I mean, maybe he'll prove me wrong and start getting a lot of assists and help Arsenal progress in Europa League and everything's hunky-dory. And he does in the Premier League too. But yeah, I think Holding is probably a better option. Che will not start, Saints fan. Yeah, fair enough. So in that case, whoever does have Che Adams, I'd probably bench him, especially if it's at the expense of a Son or a Kane or Bruno. Definitely not. Trent and Vidra or Laka and Phillips, asked Finlay. I'd probably say Trent and Vidra, but Vidra is really just a bench option. I wouldn't want to start him. So in that case, yeah, maybe Laka and Phillips is better. But just going forward, I prefer Trent and Vidra. Son or Salah for this game week? I already have Jota. Yeah, for this game week, it's definitely Salah. And going forward, you could just get Son in. Holding nailed? Not for me. Not completely nailed. There is Pablo Mari as well who could start. But maybe then again, you look at left and right-sided centre-backs. You could maybe put Chambers in there, but Arteta isn't doing that. He's playing him as a right-back, if anything. So yeah, maybe he is nailed, or as close as nailed as you can get for 4.2 million, but I just don't like Holding that much. Defence right now is Alonso plus Rudiger plus Holding plus Masuaku and Fofana. Think I have too many players susceptible to rotation and pick more nailed ones? I think Alonso is the one who's kind of susceptible to rotation. Rudiger is to a certain degree. Holding could be, but Fofana's nailed. Masuaku, so long as he's fit, is nailed. The problem with Masuaku is his injury record. Holding, probably out of those three, yeah, I'd say he's a bit more nailed than Alonso, and Rudiger probably the most, and he's a great option overall. Thoughts on Dallas plus DCL to Trent and Iheanacho? Asked Thomas Williams. That looks very, very good. Can we see your bench? As I showed before, Forster, Cody, Vidra and Shaw. Not really that pretty. The plan isn't to have Vidra for very long. Don't worry about that. He'll become Bamford in Game Week 33 or 34, and Sterling will become Son in Game Week 32. Just trying to take some one-week punts and also not go different for the sake of it, but actually do enjoy it. And I think there is an opportunity here to gain rank, especially in a game week where there's a lot of tough fixtures for a lot of highly owned assets. De Bruyne for Fernandes, worth it? Not for me. I know some people are not really showing Bruno that much faith, but it's Bruno Fernandes. He's got the most points of any player this season. Some of these fixtures that are coming up for him, he got double digits in the reverse fixture. So I think people are maybe, thinking of getting rid of him and stuff like that. It's up to you. I ultimately think it's worth keeping him, and I think he's worth the money. Shaw to Fofana, targeting the fixtures and Shaw's injury also not worth the risk maybe. Fair enough. I can see the logic there. But next game week, they do have Burnley, and after that, they have a few good ones here and there. So I still think it's worth it. Also, the bonus points, the assist potential, could even nick a goal there. According to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's the best finisher at the club, other than Greenwood, I think. So, yeah. What do you think of captaining Chris Wood? Not for me. I would never captain a Burnley player, unless it's a double game week and, I'm feeling it. But, yeah, I mean, fair enough. If you have a feeling about it, go for it, but not for me. Hi, Etani. Is this the best week to wildcard? I'm not sure whether to activate it. It's a team-dependent question. Maybe in your case, 32 or 33 poses a better opportunity. But I think this is a good opportunity for a lot of managers, including myself. But yeah, there's no right or wrong answer there. You could even play in 34 or 35. The good thing about playing it now is you give it more game weeks to kind of maximize your points overall. Should I do Salah to Kevin De Bruyne? I wouldn't get rid of Salah this game week, especially with the fixtures coming up. Although one thing you could say is that if Liverpool still kind of secretly fancy themselves against Real Madrid to go through in the tie, they might maybe rest one or two players. That's kind of the only thing I could say against Liverpool assets right now. But I think Salah's the better asset up until the rest of the season than De Bruyne, just because of the rotation thing. yeah, I'll keep the bench active here. Just for those of you who have been asking, my goalkeeper is nothing special. It's just Mendy, who everyone seems to have on a wild card. KDB and Maddison or Fernandes and Son? Yeah, I still prefer Bruno and Son. This game week, yeah, KDB and Maddison look better on paper, but Fernandes and Son is the better one overall. Early transfers made, -4. Antonio to Nacho. Nacho, I'm guessing. Worth a -8? If not, which two do I play out of Wan-Bissaka, Bamford, Veltman and Soufal? That's tough. Probably Soufal or Bamford still. But yeah, I wouldn't take an extra hit for Antonio to Iheanacho. Although, to be fair, Antonio is injured. You're not going to lose out on too much in a way. Is Firmino a good differential? In years gone by, I would say yes, but not right now. Not for me. I think it's Jota, Salah. If you want a differential, maybe Mane, but he's been very poor this season. But yeah, Firmino not feeling it. Jimmy asks, start Holding or Lingard? I still prefer Lingard, but yeah, maybe Holding's more likely to get 6 points, but I prefer Lingard. Leno or Mendy? If I have a Chelsea defender already, Mendy. Doesn't matter, I still prefer Mendy. Who's replacing Tierney at Arsenal? Asked Genius Gamer. It will be Cedric. He'll play left back, and that means Bellerin or Chambers play right back. And if not, if Arteta wants to kind of revert to stuff he did last year, he might play Saka as a left back. But yeah, other than that, we don't have any options, and that was a big fault of the club to not sign a left back, a backup left back, in case, Tierney got injured. He's an injury-prone player. I have both wildcard and bench boost. Should I save the combo for a potential double game week 35 bench boost? Yeah, I mean, you could, to be fair. It is. I always say this, it's a team-dependent question of when should I wildcard, when should I do this. But bench boost in 35, that looks very good. It's a double game week. You don't have your triple captaincy anymore, so there's no need to worry about that. I think 34, if not now, is a good opportunity to play your wildcard. Hi, mate. Lindelof and 0.7 million in the bank, or Maguire, 0 in the bank. Thanks. Probably Lindelof, but I'm not sure. To be honest, Maguire is more likely to get a goal or something like that, maybe even bonus points. But yeah, I don't know. Lindelof is cheaper and is fairly nailed. But yeah, I don't fancy any of them, to be honest. I think Shaw or nothing from United defence. Salah or Sterling this week? I already have Jota. In that case, as a 1 week punt, I would suggest Sterling, but overall, Salah, up until the rest of the season, clearly wins that. Would you go double Chelsea with Rudiger Mendy if I have playing double versus West Ham in 33 Holding, or just go for Veltman? I would still go for the double up in Chelsea defence, because up until game week 35, when the fixtures turn for them in a way, Chelsea can get plenty of clean sheets to facilitate that. And also, in the reverse fixture, I know it was a long time ago, but Chelsea beat West Ham comfortably. I think it was 3 or 4-0. So yeah, I would recommend that. How much is in the bank with your wildcard? Good question. Yeah, 0.5 million now. The reason why I had to double check is because I've changed my team quite a bit from the last time out. And at one point I had 0, exactly 0. But I've got 0.5 million left in the bank. Bench Soucek for Phillips. Yeah, I would start Phillips over him. Aubameyang captain. Fair enough. As a differential, if you're feeling Aubameyang, go for it. If you're asking me, would you do it if you had Aubameyang? I wouldn't, but I still think he's a good option. Which one is better on a wildcard? Leno, Mendy or Schmeichel? Mendy by far. I think he's the best option, Pedro. Alonso or Aspi? Leaning towards Alonso because he has more attacking potential. Yeah, I'd say Alonso. And yeah, in terms of Aspi, if you want someone nailed or someone close to being nailed, I'd just go for Rudiger, save the 1.2 million. But yeah, I'd go for Alonso, at least for the next few weeks. Go for Phillips or Kabak on a wildcard? I'd go for Phillips. Saves you an extra 0.5 million, I think. And yeah, I think Phillips could maybe even be on the end of bonus points in the future, but probably not. But yeah, I'd go for Phillips. Start Cody or Holding? To be honest, I'd probably start Cody. Neto or Lingard on a wildcard? For me personally, I'd go for Lingard, but if you're a fixtures guy, if you're not really sure about West Ham without Antonio, then I'd say Neto is worth it up until game week 34. And then when the fixtures turn for Wolves, they turn for the better for West Ham, and that's when you can make the switch again. So there's no problem there. You could just go for Neto now, Philip, and then get Lingard after. Have Jota, Kane, Gundogan and Son. Should I captain Jota and vice Kane? Yeah, and if anything, maybe you could just captain or vice captain Gundogan, and if not, if he doesn't play, then it's not really a big issue. Thinking of Amara's captaincy punt, says Jimmy. He's been too good in games like this, 21 points against Burnley and Southampton. Should I captain him, or is it too much of a risk, and should I captain Salah? I think he's worth it if you back him to start. If you're asking me, I don't think he's going to start. I think he's going to be rested for the Champions League. But if he does start this game, then yeah, you're completely right. He could get 2 or 3 goals here or assists. So I completely get that logic. The problem I have with him is him starting because of all the other games going on. And yeah, if you have too many doubts about him starting, then go for Salah. Start Rafinha or Cresswell? I'd probably start Cresswell. If you had to choose one of Aspi or Rudiger, Rudiger for me. Don't trust Arsenal. Yeah, neither do I, to be honest. Azpilicueta or Alonso? Alonso can be big, but Aspi's safe. I think as a short-term punt for the next few, I think Alonso's better. Question, Lindelof or Cody? Thank you. I'd go for Cody, and I'd try to get Shaw if you want to get a United defender in, Peter. Why Vidra? And is there better options from his price up to 6.9 million? Well, Adil, I don't have the money to go with the team that I'm very happy with, I'll add, and to also have someone like Bamford in there. So the logic, which hopefully I don't have to explain this again, is in Game Week 32 I'm going to be moving Sterling to Son, and that will give me more than enough money in Game Week 33 or 34, depending on how my team is, to move Vidra to Bamford. And then that's already pretty sorted. My team is looking very good overall. So that's why. I want to have Sterling for this 1 week punt, and in order to do that, I need Vidra, unfortunately. In terms of strikers up to 6.9 million, I think Bamford is still the standout, and if not, Iheanacho. I'm not really too convinced with the other options. Start Phillips or Dawson? I'd start Phillips, and no need to spam the chat. I mean, that goes without saying, otherwise I will put people on timeout. Cresswell or Shaw? For this game week, good question. I'd start Cresswell, but overall, at least for the next few, I do prefer Shaw. Rudiger and Castagna or Azpilicueta and Fofana? I think I was asked this earlier, but maybe by someone else. I went with Rudiger and Castagna. Bale has depreciated by 0.1 million, making him to Son impossible now. I didn't want an extra -4 since I already have Cancelo and Rafinha to Phillips and Salah. Any other player for Bale? Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't be too worried about getting Son in now. In fact, I wouldn't do it. I would wait an extra week for 32 and then do the switch, and you would have 2 free transfers potentially, or just take a -4 in your case. Any other player for Bale? I'd probably say Maddison if you back him to start. Neto, Lingard if you don't have him already. Yeah, those are the sort of players I'd look at. Maddison or Mount on a wild card? I actually prefer Maddison, at least after this game week. I definitely prefer Maddison. Maddison or Lingard on the wild card? Good question. I'm going with Lingard myself because he's cheaper, and I'm happy with the rest of my team that way. But Maddison, I do think over the next 3-4 could outscore Lingard, so I prefer Maddison. Start Phillips or Dawson? Phillips for me. No need to spam the chat. I'm going to put you on timeout. Is Greenwood start against Tottenham? I think with the way they played in Europa League, the lineup they put out there, I think yes. But I'm not entirely sure about that. Greenwood could be a good differential. That goes without saying. I think he is maybe worth a punt. Maybe after this game, though. But overall, yeah, I'm not really feeling Greenwood overall. Pick 2 to start. Lingard, Iheanacho or Son? I'd probably say Lingard and Son. -4 for Alba to Salah. Have Jota. Yeah, fair enough. That looks good. Yeah, for Alba to Salah. I mean, you already have Jota. You could just keep Aubameyang for this game week just in case he does start and does very well, which a lot of people are tipping him for. But yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure about that. I would definitely get Salah in next week for a free, no doubt about it. Captain Aguero asked Mac Wong. I'd say, yeah, great option this week. Sterling, Aguero, Jota, Salah, those are the kind of names that stand out for me. Start Forster or Martinez? Forster. Is only having Diaz from City okay, or is a midfielder essential? No, it's not essential, I think. The only reason I have Sterling is because I have the luxury of having a wild card and the fact that he's only a 1 week punt. I don't think it is essential in a way. But yeah, I do think that having a City defender, I still want that cover, and that's why I'm going with Diaz at the moment. Punt on Wilson. I did mention him of being potentially a good option for Newcastle when he does return from injury, but not for me. I think there are better options elsewhere. Start Iheanacho or Lingard? I would start Lingard. Bench order for Shaw, Vidra and Reguilon. Captain Salah or Sterling? I would captain Sterling, Aranya. That's why I've gone with him myself. As for bench order for Shaw, Vidra and Reguilon, I'd probably say Vidra first, Shaw second, Reguilon third. Leno as a differential goalkeeper, he is an option. Okay, he is decent, but I just prefer Mendy. So, and he is in a way a differential. He's less than 10% owned. I've been used to having Martinez all season. He went from 10% ownership to like 30, 40% at one point. So I get that, but yeah, I'm not really feeling it. I think Leno's a differential for a reason. Matthew says, do you think FPL can become quite addictive? Think of how many times you check your team without changing it. I'll be honest, I mean, at least in recent times, I've kind of just selected the team and left it there. But for the wild card, because you really want to get it right, I'll be honest, I've been tinkering it a lot, and this looks significantly different to what it did a few days ago when I made those videos. So it's completely understandable. I do think, yeah, it can be very addicting for some people, especially with this lockdown, but yeah, I've got to be careful with it. Iheanacho or Lingard for a -4 worth it instead of starting Rafinha against City? I think Rafinha could potentially nick something against City. But if you're not feeling it, I think for this week I prefer Lingard for a -4. Whom to start, Vidra or Iheanacho? I would start Iheanacho. That's why I've gone for him myself on my bench. Vidra is there. I'll be honest though, Vidra, maybe he actually has the potential. Newcastle are very poor away from home, especially defensively. Best striker option, got Lacazette, Kane and Iheanacho. Thinking of getting Lacazette out. 4.5 million in the bank. To be honest, I mean, right now, yeah, I mean, I just keep Lacazette for now. And then going forward in Gameweek 34, just get Bamford. I don't like Calvert-Lewin. He started the season off very strongly, then he's ending it very poorly. Did very similar last season. Yeah, I look at the other options. Antonio's injured, otherwise he's a no-brainer. Bamford when the fixtures turn. Other than that, I'm just not really feeling the strikers. I think I'm going with this. Mendy, Forster, Cody, Fofana, Trent, Holding, Rudiger, Salah captain, Jota, Bruno, Neto, Son, Davis, bench fodder, Kane, Iheanacho. May chicken last and get J-Ling. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't really call it chicken. Lingard's just been doing very well. It's a sensible move. But that looks like a very good wildcard team. With the number of good forwards options dwindling by the day, go for only 2 forwards here or Kane and Vardy. I have Kane, Bamford and Watkins at the moment. Yeah, I completely understand that. That's why I've gone for Vidra right now. I'm looking at the striker options. Antonio's injured. I had to get rid of him. Not feeling it. I think it is worth having 5 midfielders, even a lot of premium ones, and just having 2 strikers for now. And then when Bamford's fixtures turn, you can always get him back in. I just have a bit of a question mark around Iheanacho. I know it's quite... He's been in very good form recently, but I still have question marks about him. I do think he will continue to start, even with Maddison returning. I think Perez is going to be the one making way. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure about Iheanacho, I'll be honest. Start Wood or Son? Thanks and good luck. I'd still start Son. Start Son or Lingard? In that case, I'd probably start Lingard. Start Iheanacho or Neto? I would start Neto. Thoughts on Mendy for City as a differential? I'll be honest, Kobe, I actually had him in at one point as a 1-week punt, but Zinchenko could start there too. If not, Cancelo's a left back, although I think that's less likely. So I'm not entirely sure about that. I think Laporte as a differential from City, I think he's a very good one. And if anything, him and Diaz should start the most minutes for City of any player in their team, at least from the defence. I sold Bruno for Salah and had Maddison on my wildcard, but heard that he might not start against West Ham, so changed it to Greenwood for Gameweek 32, 33 for United. What do you think? Fair enough, and that's another thing why I got rid of Maddison in the end. I'm not entirely sure if he will start. Not even looking at what other people say about it. But yeah, I think Greenwood as a 1 or 2 week punt looks very good. But beyond that, I'll be honest, I just don't see too many points for him, but I might be completely wrong there. Start Cody or Rudiger this week. I have Mendy in goal. I'd still start Rudiger. And if he doesn't play, Cody comes in. Order this bench. Iheanacho, Shaw, Bamford, Vidra. Tough one. I'd have Iheanacho first, Vidra second, and Shaw or Bamford third. But having Bamford third on your bench could really bite you. My gut's saying Leno over Mendy. I have Rudiger. Fair enough. That's the thing. If you have a gut feeling about something, go for it. Just in my opinion, my gut feeling and just my brain's telling me Mendy over Leno all day long. Is Ings a good punt for this week against West Brom? Okay, I haven't mentioned him at all, but Ings is a very good 1 week punt. At one point, believe it or not, before I had Sterling, before I had Salah, I had Ings up front along with Iheanacho and Kane as a 1 week punt. Then the plan would be to get Bamford in a few weeks' time and get Son or whatever in the midfield. I think it's a good option. KDB, Jota, or Iheanacho for the captaincy? I wouldn't go for Iheanacho from those three. I'd probably say KDB captain, and if not, yeah, Jota vice captain, and that should be fine. Is Saiss, Cody, and Neto triple up a great move? Potentially, but not for me. I think 2 max for Wolves. I think triple up is a bit excessive, especially a double up in defence. The only teams you want to double up in defence is City and Chelsea. I think that's just my opinion on the now. Sterling or Fernandes? For this game week, Sterling. Overall, Bruno Fernandes, clear winner. Do you think Jota will start, or do you think he'll be rested for the Real Madrid game? I mean, that's the thing, Kobe. I mentioned it earlier. There is a chance that a Liverpool player, a key Liverpool player or two, are benched because they still have a chance to go through. They just need to win 2-0. I say just. Will they do that? Not exactly sure. But yeah, maybe Jota will be benched. Play target this week, captain KDB or DCL. I wouldn't play target this week if possible. As for captaining KDB or DCL, KDB. Cody or Phillips to play? I would start Phillips. That's what I've done myself in my team. The deadline has passed, by the way, so good luck with your teams. I'll be answering any remaining questions. I'm on Wildcard, pretty settled, but now tempted by Reece James, so Rudiger plus Shaw versus James, Cody. I still prefer Rudiger and Shaw. I know it might seem a bit more template, but I think they're better options. I have Rafinha, Wan-Bissaka and Lookman on the bench. Yeah, that looks good, and I probably agree with the ordering of the bench, or at least of having those players on the bench, although Lookman maybe could do something against Wolves. Please quick if you had to. Dawson or Veltman? Ask Marco. Yeah, I mean, the deadline has already passed, but I would have probably gone with Veltman just for Game Week 33. And then, as I said before, I'm not sure if it was to you, I would have done the switch from Veltman to Dawson or to Soufal when West Ham's fixtures turn for the better. Do I swap Bruno for Sterling? Not for me. I wouldn't get rid of Bruno Fernandes because you just want to get him back in 32. That's just the way I see it. That's my opinion on the matter. Dylan, thank you so much for always being so humble and answering all the questions you get. Hopefully your channel blows up in a big way soon. Thank you, Lipok, and appreciate the comments and the good questions. Really appreciate it. Double Arsenal defence. I mean, I'm really doubting one of them. I mean, 2 of them, definitely not. It's either Leno or Holding. Just have one of them. I would not go for double. What are the rules about ordering your bench? Don't really get it. Well, okay. So the main thing really in FPL is having an actual legitimate formation. You can't have 2 defenders. You can't have, for example, 1 midfielder or something like that. I mean, that'd just be crazy, wouldn't it? And yeah, obviously, you can play as many strikers as you want, 1, 2 or 3. So, for example, let's look at my team. If Diaz misses out, let's say I had Vidra first sub, just to kind of make this easier. If I had Vidra first sub and Cody was second sub, but Diaz doesn't play, it doesn't go from Diaz out, Vidra in. It will be Cody coming in because he's the first defender. Otherwise, I don't have a legitimate formation. So that's how it works. Otherwise, if I have a legitimate formation, no matter what happens, so yeah, it would just be my first sub coming on, even if he's a striker, defender, or midfielder. So hopefully that does cover it for you. I think there was an example I had where I benched Bamford against Leicester and he got like 12 to 15 points. He was my second sub. My first sub, I think he was a defender. Actually, no, Bamford was my first sub, sorry. Bamford was my first substitute, and I had a defender as my second sub. But because I had like 2 defenders missing out already, thank you, Pep Guardiola, by the way, the defenders came off, and that second defender in my second substitution slot, he came on, and Bamford with 15 points or whatever was first on my bench. Yeah, it can kill you sometimes, it really can. Captain Trent, not for me. Strauch. This is Strauch, I think that's what it's called. And that's time. Good luck to all. Thank you, Bojan, and good luck to you as well. So cowardly. Went Veltman and Lingard over Fofana and Neto last second. Was going to start Holding over Son, but didn't. I mean, to be honest, they're just good moves in the long term, I think, overall. So I'm not really too worried about that. Hi all, like the stream and give the man... Yeah, thank you, Peters. Really appreciate it. And good luck with your game week. Hopefully you do very, very well. Thanks for all the help. Good luck this game week. Thank you, Maelstrom. You too. Hopefully I actually say your name right. One of the best contents out there. Thank you, Perkey. Hopefully I'm saying it right. Really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll keep improving and making better content. And hopefully you continue to stick around. Cedric or Holding? Holding, as I said before, Genius Gamer out of those 2. Thoughts on my team? Leno, Alonso, Mendy, Saiss, Jota, Neto, Bruno, Lingard, Iheanacho, Kane, Wood, Captain. Wood, Captain. You went with it. Fair play. Bench, Martinez, Son, Shaw, Creswell. Yeah, I agree with that. I maybe would have put Creswell instead of Shaw, but to be honest, United keep a lot of clean sheets in these big games. So, you know what? That's good, and your team looks very good. I wouldn't have gone with Wood captain, but maybe it'll turn out well for you, so good luck. Marco says, I just looked at it and saw that Fofana doesn't get high scores that much, and despite the fixtures, there isn't too much upside, and Neto rarely gets double digits, and Wolves aren't great. Yeah, I looked at Fofana myself. I looked at his points returns, and this is what I mean. Leicester can be very good defensively and still concede a goal, and they don't get you the points you want. As for Neto, I think he's got one goal in how many game weeks? Maybe 15, 20 game weeks? I might be wrong about that. He tends to get assists anyway, but it's just not enough, and not enough big hauls in him. Maybe like a Rafinha who has the potential to do that. So I agree with that. Can I just say, since I found out about your channel, I've just realised how good your consistent, great content is, Atani. Keep it up. Well, I'm not Atani, Adil, but thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate it and very humbled by them. And good luck with this game week. And hopefully we can get some more green arrows. Good luck, Dylan. Cheers for the good advice. Thank you, Kobe. Thank you for the good questions. And also just for all your comments. And good luck with your Wood captaincy. Let's say Chris Wood, just before someone clips it and tries to, change things around. Great content. Same team except for Diaz and Cody. Have Castagna and Shaw. Fair enough. I mean, I do have Shaw, but he's on my bench anyway. Castagna. He might be an interesting one. I just think it's a big shame that Justin was injured. I would still have him to this day if he didn't get injured. That's very unfortunate. This game week is going to be very interesting. I wonder how many people are taking punts on Sterling. Yeah, I'll be honest. This is something that over the last 2 days I've started to do. And really, it's not just about game week 31. I also looked about how my team is in game week 32 and beyond, the transfers I would have planned. And I just really like this team and the transfer plans I had for it. That's why I went with Sterling. Maybe it'll pay off, we'll see. But yeah, I think Sterling captaincy is going to be very interesting. He's going to be a big differential. You never walk alone, says Lipoka. Fair enough. And let's see if Salah, Jota and Phillips and Trent and all these highly owned assets can do well. Neto does usually tick over with assists every now and then, but Lingard is far more explosive, I feel. And Veltman for 33 too. Yeah, I agree. And I think, a Brighton keeper or defender is worth it for 33. Beyond that, get rid of them. I agree with Neto. He can maybe get a 5 or 6 pointer, but beyond that, not too much else to really shout home about. Good luck, mate. Wish me luck on the captaincy. Yeah, on the Chris Wood captaincy. Yeah, that's a madness. Dylan, be honest. Are you Italian in disguise? Surely I'm not the only one that can hear the similarities in both your voices. But jokes aside, keep up the content and good luck this week. Thank you, Adil. And I don't know. I think you're the only person who's ever said that. I think I once said to someone, do I actually sound like Italian? They're like, no. But fair enough. I mean, it's all about perspective. And all the best of luck to you as well this game week. I captain Raheem the Dream Sterling. Well, to be honest, hopefully it's Raheem the Dream and not Raheem the Nightmare. We'll have to wait and see what happens this game week. But it's very bold. I mean, this is probably the boldest captaincy pick I've had this season. It's up there anyway. Let's see what happens. I mean, normally it doesn't really pay off for a lot of people who've been doing it. Let's see. Thanks for all the help, Dylan, and see you later. Good luck, mate. Thank you, Marco, and hopefully Arsenal can finally turn things around and actually win the Europa League. But to be honest, just me saying that, it's very unlikely at this point. And thank you to everyone who has joined in. And if you've enjoyed it, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this video around with friends and family and anyone who loves FPL. And also UCL Fantasy. I do videos on them. More videos are going to be coming soon. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same handle as my YouTube name, Dylan_RCM. And yeah, just thank you for tuning in. As I keep on saying, I've said it probably 5-6 times already, but nonetheless, all the very best of luck this game week. Enjoy the football and enjoy the Champions League coming up. And hopefully there's just many points and green arrows to come, and also just great football. Hopefully Arsenal turn things around. But I always say this, don't I, every single week, and I just get let down. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.